Hi guys, hi, how's it going? How y'all doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I'm doing my makeup inventory for 2025 and I am so excited to bring you guys all the numbers. For those of you who are just popping into my channel, have never watched one of my inventory videos before, this is really just numbers. I'm telling you about the numbers that are in my collection. I'm showing you pictures of the products that I'm talking about in that moment. Telling you the numbers that I had at the beginning of the year, the numbers I have at the beginning of this year, and the beginning of last year versus this year. And then we're going to discuss at the end, like the goals that I had in mind for myself for the year of 2024 and where I landed in those goals. And I love my inventory videos. I love everybody's inventory videos. I'm a little bit nosy. If you're a little bit nosy, stick around. I'm sure that you'll find that this is a joy to watch. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I'm a lover of all things high and colorful beauty and self-care, and ultimately this is my self-care. I just like coming out here talking to you about the good, the bad, the ugly, all the things coming in and out of my collection. I do reviews, project pans, and really a bunch of just chit chat about makeup because I love makeup. And if you love makeup too, I think that you'll find that this channel brings solace to your soul in the way it brings solace to mine, and I hope that you'll want to subscribe before you go. With that said, let's roll into this makeup inventory for 2025. I'm so excited about it. So as you guys know, I have pictures of all the things so that you guys will see the pictures of the categories. I do walk through each of the categories in my makeup collection as they stand in my inventory workbook that I have in my Excel worksheets. I will share pictures of my Excel workbook with you. I will also share pictures of the products that I'm talking about as far as the inventory categories go. And then we will talk about last year's numbers versus this year's numbers and where we're sitting currently. This is like one of my favorite videos to watch every single year from everybody. And it's one of my favorite videos to do for myself, but it is very time consuming, right? You have to go through your inventory, go through every single thing that's in your inventory, make sure that your inventory is accurate. And when you have a, beauty channel, like this is what you do, right? So your collection is probably pretty large. Mine is larger than it was last year, which is disheartening because I didn't want it to be this year, but I also brought a lot of stuff in through gratis. So I was only counting what I purchased as inventory that I was bringing in myself. And with that thought process, I only purchased one more item than what I had emptied versus also what I wanted to do as far as my goals go. So I'm actually pretty happy with how my inventory ended up this year. I have 8 categories in my inventory, and those categories are only about makeup. So nothing in this beauty inventory or makeup inventory includes skincare, perfume, fragrance, hair care, any of that stuff. It's just makeup. So of those 8 categories, I have multiple different subcategories within each category. So I'm going to run through the main category with you in terms of the subcategories, and then we will go over how many items I have in that main category overall. This is maybe going to be a long one, but you guys are going to get all the pictures of the products, the pictures of my inventory workbook as well, and you're going to see all the things. So if you're nosy, this is a great video for you. Let's jump in. So the first category I have in my makeup inventory is lips. And for the lips category, I actually have only 5 subcategories. Last year, this was 7 categories. I just moved some things around and decided that I didn't really need 7 subcategories for this overall category. So I moved the lip crayons and stains into 2 other already existing categories. So for the lip crayons, I did move them into the bullet subcategory. So now it is bullets and crayons. Last year, I had 72 bullet lipsticks and 12 crayons for a total of 84 bullets and crayons. This year I have 81. For the liner subcategory, I had 41 last year and I have 40 this year. Listen, lip liner is something that I use every single day because I love the look of a liner, and I usually do a liner and a gloss and don't really wear lipsticks. So that is a category that I'm perfectly fine with having 40 items in. I think I would actually honestly be perfectly fine having 50 items in that category, but I am really happy to see this category dwindling. And I did use so many lip liners last year, but I also put more lip liners into my inventory as well. For balms, treatments, scrubs, and primers, last year I had 35. This year I have 48. That's a lot. I do think that there are some of them that need to go in declutters. And while I was doing the pictures for this video, I was also recording at the same time for my makeup declutter series, which comes this month. And you will see that a good portion of those go. There's a lot of them that are really old. However, this is also a category in my collection that I will always have a lot in because I use lip balm every day. My daughter uses lip balm every day. She struggles from really dry, cracked lips a lot. So I always have a fairly large inventory of lip balms. These are also things that you get a lot in like free gift with purchases, or I get them a lot in gratis as well. The next category, which is liquid lipsticks, I also added the stains section to. So I did have 18 liquid lipsticks in my collection last year and 7 stains for a total of 25 items in this category last year. And this year I have 26. I don't think that I have purchased, I know that I have not purchased any more liquid lipsticks. I don't think that I've purchased any more stains either. I just think that maybe like there was something in the lip gloss section that maybe saw its way into the lip stain section because I had it miscategorized. I don't know. I don't think I've purchased any. I mean, I only purchased, I think, 2 lip products last year. So, and neither one of them were liquid lipsticks or stains. For the gloss and oil category, I did have 81 last year and I have 78 this year. I did go through quite a few glosses last year. I think I went through 6 total. And I obviously did bring some in gratis. I don't think I purchased any glosses last year. Actually, I purchased 2 glosses last year. Both of them were Too Faced Kissing Lip Jellies, which are fantastic, honestly. But I have an affinity for gloss, obviously. The lips category last year overall had 267 items in it, and this year it has 273. So we did grow this category by 6 lip products. I don't know whether I am mad at that, but I do think that this category could easily sit somewhere, honestly, around 240. So I could see like a lot of the lip bullets and crayons maybe going. I could see a lot of those balms, treatments, scrubs going just because of age. I could see a lot of liquid lipsticks going because I don't love liquid lipsticks. But ultimately, like the liners and the gloss and oil, those are the 2 categories that I use all the time. So those likely won't go anywhere. And that's about 120 of the products that I have in this category overall. I would say 240 would be where I would love for this category to get to and where I would love for this category to really sit at always, or less, obviously. The next category I have here is brows, and for brows, I did have last year 5 different subcategories, but I made some movement in those categories and now only have 3 categories. I did have a pomade category that I actually don't use as brow product. I use as liners because they're waterproof. They go nowhere. So I did put all of those into a potted liner category. And I also had 1 highlight category, you know, the brow highlight that you maybe put under your arch, which I don't even do anymore. So I did move that to an eyeshadow stick category because I will use it as an inner corner highlight versus the other. So those 2 categories no longer exist in this brow category. The 3 remaining subtopics or subcategories are gel, in which last year I had 7, this year I have 8. I get 24-hour brow setter always in gratis, so that category really doesn't move a whole lot up or down, to be honest, because I go through them, but I also get them in gratis. For the pen and pencil category, last year I had 2, this year I have 6. I don't really know what happened here. I really don't know what happened here, because I don't really go through pencil that fast. I don't think I purchased a pencil at all. I know that I did get some gratis from Benefit for their new brow pen, their Mighty Fine pen. I also got gratis from them in terms of the Gimme Brow Plus volumizing pencil, which I love so much. And the Benefit Precisely My Brow also came in gratis. I am also emptying one right now currently in my project pan. So this category I don't think has been this high in a very long time, but I also have 2 brow pencils that are on my planned pan because they're just not brow pencils that I ever use, and I really do need to see use out of those pencils and get them out of my collection. So if I can do that, then this category will go down to a maximum of 4 in the coming year. And then I have a brow powder category, which had 1 last year, has 1 this year. This is a item that my arch expert talked me into buying way back then, and I have never once, not one time, used this product. So I guess I need to, since it's in my inventory. I either need to use it or get rid of it, but it is a really dark color, so I just don't know. Because I use gray in my brows, I usually get like cool tone gray or really cool tone brown for my brows. I don't know that anybody I know would love that color in their brows. So I just hold on to it. I'll use it eventually, but it's a powder, so it's not really going to go bad, but I have never used that. Overall, the brow category, last year it had 18, this year it has 15. That isn't an apples to apples number, obviously, because of the 2 categories that I did take out of this, the 2 subcategories that I did take out of this. If I look at just the numbers that I had last year in the 3 categories that remain and the numbers that I have this year in the 3 categories that remain, I'm actually up by 5. So we had 10 last year, we have 15 this year, so we're up by 5 in this category. So that makes 2 categories that we're up in, but this is honestly a main category in my makeup inventory that I don't really see as a problem. There's not very many items in it. It is one of those categories that I like bring new items in as I'm using the items that will be rolling out. There's duplicates in this, but there's only duplicates in this category. Like when I think of brow gel, I have 3 Benefit 24-hour brow setters right now, not including the one that I'm using. So 4 that I have in my collection. They will all get used, and I didn't purchase any of those as backup. They came to me in gratis. So this isn't a category that I find troubling. The next main category I have is base, and in the base category, I do have 7 different subcategories. There was no movement in these subcategories, so these subcategories and these numbers are apples to apples. The first subcategory I have is primer. For primer, I had 20 last year. I have 22 this year. Primer is something that I wear every single day. Whether I'm wearing makeup or no, I always have a primer on. And I think it's mostly just to like either make my skin look healthier or like color correct in some way, depending on the primer that I'm using. It's going to do something different for my skin. I don't wear foundation every day. I don't love actually the feel of makeup on my face. I love makeup, but I don't love the feel of makeup on my face. So I do wear a primer every day, regardless of if I'm wearing makeup or no. I don't think that 20 or 22 is astronomical for this category. I do think that there's probably some primers that I could get rid of, but I also know that I love primers, so that's likely not going to happen. For foundations, last year I had 24. This year I have 24. There are obviously differences in the foundations that I had last year versus this year. I did empty 2 foundations last year, so those are no longer in this category, but I did also pick up, I think, Fenty Eavesdrop foundation sticks. I picked up the Win Beauty foundation. I picked up several foundations this year. So, and I think that when I thought about empties, that's why I thought I had more foundation empties, was because I have picked up several foundations this year, but my numbers have not changed and I only emptied 2. So I think that there's a discrepancy in how many I emptied. I also decluttered a couple, one to my daughter, one to my sister. So there's that. That could come into play. For concealers, last year I had 10. This year I have 9. I did empty 2 concealers this year, so I was really super excited about that. But I also bought a new concealer this year. I believe the only one I bought was the House Labs one. I really fell in love with that concealer, utilizing it through Turn and Burn, so I did purchase a full size of that. Nope, I bought 2 because I also bought the Westman Atelier one. Either way, I'm still down 1 in concealers, and I'm really happy with that number. I don't foresee this number getting astronomically smaller, but I also don't see it growing really big because this just isn't a category in my inventory that I even like wearing. Today I'm not wearing concealer. I don't wear concealer most days. It's just not a product in my makeup inventory that I feel like I need to have. It doesn't excite me. So I'm okay with 9. I'm okay with 10. I'm really glad that we went down in that subcategory for corrector. I had 13 and this year I have 11. I am also happy with this number. I do know that I was able to utilize, I think, 2 correctors and empties. Maybe. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. There is also a lot of those correctors that maybe need to go because they're just not the right color for me. But I do use color corrector for a myriad of reasons. Like, you guys, my chest gets really red across here. So if I'm really pale or not wearing like the right color of like blush and stuff to like make everything look, you know, succinct, this sometimes stands out really well. And then I'll put like a green color corrector on it to kind of mask some of the redness. I have a ton of color correctors. Most of them are because I got them in gratis, not because I purchased them. I can't remember the last time I purchased a color corrector. 11 I think is okay. I don't necessarily think it's an astronomical number, but I don't need that many. Again, this is a category, a subcategory I can see going down in the future. For powder, I had 14 last year. I have 14 this year. I mean, no movement there. I did end up finishing a powder by Dior. It was the Dior Powder No Powder. But I also think I purchased a Pat McGrath powder or 2 last year. So, and I love those powders. I also purchased a Kosas one. I don't know why there's no movement. I don't know why. I promise you this is accurate, but I don't know why there's no movement in that, because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure I purchased like 3 powders last year. And I know I only, in my empties video, only showcased 1. I do think that there's probably some empties that didn't get showcased in my empties video. And I think I said that at the end of the video because I feel like I emptied a lot more than what I did have in terms of my makeup products. For setting or facial spray, I did have 14 last year. I have 15 this year. I didn't purchase any. They all come in gratis. I just think that it's one of those things that we get in gratis, so I can't really help how many's in my collection. But I do know in my declutter series that there is going to be quite a big change in that, because I like 3 setting sprays. I like the Urban Decay All-Nighter, I like the Benefit Pore Setter, and I like the MAC Fix Plus. And those are the only 3 that I ever want to use. There's so many in my collection right now that are not those 3, but there's also so many that are those 3 because of gratis. Again, I just need to give away. I did give one setting spray to my daughter when she was here over Christmas, but that subcategory did go up 1 point. And then for fixers, this is like my blue fixer for warm tone foundations. I put blue in it. I put blue in this foundation today to make it a little more neutral versus warm. I have my white fixer. Both of them are by LA Girl. The white fixer is to make it match my skin tone in the winter versus the summer, because I'm not going to buy 50 different foundations just to make a foundation work for me. And then there is my bronzing drops from Drunk Elephant, which I consider a fixer because those are what bronzes up or deepens some of the foundations that I do have that I maybe bought during the winter that are more of my winter shade, and I need them to match me during the summer. So I had 4 last year. I have 3 this year, and I am perfectly fine with those. As a matter of fact, one of those is almost empty, so I need to maybe go buy another one. The white one gets used a lot, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until it's empty because I'm on a no-buy this year, so I can only replenish when it's empty. Overall, for the base category, last year we had 100 items in this category. This year we have 98. So we did go down by 2 in this category, which is super fantastic. The next main category is face, and in the face category, there was a lot of movement in these categories. There used to be, I think, 8 subcategories in this section, and I drilled it down to 4. And the reason why I was able to do that without there being any like movement from one main category to a next is because I had face palettes into 3 different categories, like blush face palette, highlighter palette, and then an all over face palette. And I just merged them into one category of face palettes. And that's where the bulk of that movement came from. I took those 4 categories and put it into, or those 3 categories and put it into one. And then I think the bronzer category used to be a bronzer category and then a contour category. And I just merged those 2 categories into one as well. So we went from 8 subcategories to 4 subcategories. For blush, listen, I'm going to pause here and just let you all know that every single category in this, except for maybe the bronzer category, is a problem category for me. Beyond palettes, this is like my favorite main category to buy for. And even though I haven't worn highlighter nearly at all the entire year of 2024, I still bought new highlighters in 2024. They're just such pretty products, and they are something that is a favorite category for me to purchase from. They're a problem area for me. I don't know that this category will be ever any smaller than what it is. So I just need to preface this with, this is a no judgment zone, and I don't want you to listen to my numbers and go, holy cow, lady. I just want you to like support me in knowing that I am not wearing rose-colored glasses. I know what my problem areas are. For blush, last year I had 87 blushes, and I thought that that was horrible because it was. That's a lot of blush. This year I have 105. I even decluttered last year, I think 13 blushes, and still ended the year with 105 blushes. What do you do? Some of that, of course, is going to be gratis. I did receive a lot of blushes in gratis, a lot of blush in gratis. And I just can't say no to a blush. I tried to say no to a blush, and then it came right back to me 2 months later in a new gratis bag. So I'm like, what do you do? I had 105 blushes this year. For the bronzer and contour categories, last year I had 44. This year I have 36. So stoked about that. I do know that some of this was through declutter. I also know that I did empty one. It was my Makeup by Mario Sculpt Stick. And this year I've got the other half of that in my project pan. But those were split into 2 different products in my makeup, bronzer, contour categories. So they are together separate products that counted into those 44 items, and now separate products that count into those 36 items. Really happy that this went down by 8. That's crazy. For highlight, last year I had 90. This year I have 83. I am so excited because I do know that I decluttered some of my highlight last year. And I do know that I bought some highlight last year, even though I'm not really wearing highlight. But to see that it is still 7 less than what it was last year at this time just makes my heart so happy, because these are problem categories for me. For face palettes, I purchased 2 new face palettes last year. I would say both of them are not face palettes that I ultimately loved, so I should just steer clear of face palettes always. I think I've said that before. For face palettes, I had 34 last year. This year I have 36. Overall, in the face category, I had 255 items last year, and this year I have 260. I do think that we could dwindle this down I have an awful lot of blushes. I have an awful lot of highlighters, and I certainly have too many face palettes. But again, these are problem areas for me, and I just love them so much. So I don't know how much movement we can make in this category. And I would be satisfied if we were sitting at 250, maybe a little bit less than that, but I don't see it going down very much further than that. The next main category I have in here is lashes, and in lashes I just include things like primers, serums, and mascaras. There are only 2 subcategories, 1 mascara, 1 primer, and serum. The mascara category really doesn't change year over year. Like, I get a lot of mascara in gratis. I know that you guys have heard me say this a ton of times. I bought 1 mascara last year, and that 1 mascara I used a couple times and then gave to my daughter, so it immediately came out of my collection. I also emptied 11 mascaras last year and still ended with 28 mascaras versus the 28 mascaras that I had last year. So I get a lot of I get a lot of mascara in gratis. Like, I can't help that number. I always, though, am the person that is going to give mascaras away to my family, my daughters, their family, also my friends when they need a mascara. So I always have a grip ton of mascara, and I probably always will have a grip ton of mascara. This category looks outlandish, but it's not, in my humble opinion, because I know what happens with this mascara. I use a lot of mascara every year, but I still end up with a lot of mascara. So there's that. For primers and serums, last year I had 10. This year I have 7. I did finish up 2.5, I guess you might say, or 2 in a travel size Grande Lash serums. And I don't think that I finished off any primers last year, but I do know that I finished off those serums. One was a 6-month serum, one was a 3-month serum, and one was a 4-week serum. Really great numbers for my empties because those are dang expensive, but those are the 3 that it went down by. This category was 38 last year. It is 35 this year, and those were the 3 items that it is down by because my mascaras, even though I used 11, I still have a ton of mascaras, and that category did not change. For my eyes category, I do have, again, 7 subsections here. I guess 8 when you include singles, maybe 9 when you include palettes, but I do have my singles in a separate main category on a separate page in my workbook. For eyes, I have liquid liner, pencil liner, potted liner, shadow primer, shadow stick, liquid and cream shadow, or glitter and pigment. Those are the 7 subcategories. For liquid liner, last year I had 17. This year I have 13. I have been supplying a lot of liquid liner to my mom, who uses nothing but liquid liner. I have all but quit using liquid liner, and I don't know why that has happened, but it was a real slow go this year for liquid liner. A lot of the reason why this went down is because I gave some to my mom. I do think that I used 3 though last year as well, but no, I used 4 last year, but 2 of them exploded on me, and they were relatively new, so it wasn't because of age, but that is the reason why that category has went down. For pencil liners, I had 43 last year. I have 45 this year. I don't really think that that's outlandish. It's not like I have 50 eyeliners that are all the same color. I love a colored eyeliner on my lower lash line. I do have, I think, 3 black and 2 brown, but other than that, every single other eyeliner in my collection of eyeliners is a completely different color from the next. I don't really have any eyeliners that are even similar to each other in color. I'm not mad about that number. I don't think that that'll change at all. I do love a colored liner on my lower lash line. That will probably stay in line with that 45. For potted liner, I did have 4 last year, and this year I have 12. So this is the category that the brow products that were in my pomade category went to, because I use them as a liner on my upper lash line because they are waterproof. So I use them more in that way than I do as a brow product. They are actually like legitimately called the Super Brow by KVD or Benefit Pomade, but I use them as a upper lash line liner. So I just moved them from one category to the next, and that is why the growth in this category, not because I purchased 8 products. For shadow primer, I had 7 last year. I have 5 this year. I'm not mad at this category. I did empty, I think, 3 last year, but I did acquire another one. So I am ending the year and beginning 2025 with 5 of them. A lot of the eyeshadow primers that I have are in use and have been in use, so they're not 100% full. When I am done with the shadow primers that I currently have in my collection, I can see myself ending with maybe 3 would be a good round number in this category. I really love the ABH eyeshadow primer, so I would repurchase that one. I like the Ulta Beauty matte eye primer, so I would probably repurchase that one. And I love the MAC pink pots, so I would probably repurchase those. For shadow sticks, last year I had 18, this year I have 25. This was like on everybody's agenda to make sure we got gratis in last year. I got some Laura Mercier ones. I got some Bobbi Brown ones. I got some NYX ones. Like, I just got a lot of shadow sticks in, I got Charlotte Tilbury ones. I got a lot of shadow sticks in gratis last year. So that is why this category has grown by 7, is not because I've purchased them. I think I purchased one, and it was the black NYX shadow stick, black bean, and NYX shadow stick, but other than that, they all came in gratis. For liquid or cream shadow, I had 28 last year. I have 38 this year. I went on a liquid shadow extravaganza, obsession, I guess, and I bought a lot. I bought some of the About Face, like multi-chrome liquid shadows. I bought some of the Juvia's Place multi-chrome liquid shadows. I bought a couple of the Lancome ones. Actually, I think those came to me in gratis. I can't remember. I actually think that there's 2 from Half Magic as well that need to move into the glitter category. So next year, that category will probably grow, because really they're just glitter. They're liquid glitter. So I will probably move those. That is why this category has grown. And then for glitter or pigment, I had 17 last year. I have 20 this year. I don't know why this one has grown, if I'm honest with you. Anyways, this category has also grown. So for the eyes main category, I had 134 products last year, and this year I have 158. This is a category that, you know, there's a lot in here that you're not going to see any movement on. The only things that I could see some movement on specifically would be liquid and cream shadows and maybe the glitters and pigments. But other than that, like, I use all these things all the time. So I don't see this making any kind of leaps and bounds movement in my makeup collection. 158, I also don't think, over 7 subcategories, I also don't think is a problem area. For singles, I have singles in a separate section in my makeup inventory, and I have 2 subsections for that. I have potted singles and then magnetic singles. For potted singles, I had 27 last year. I have 30 this year. The potted singles that I did receive, I think I got 2 from my friend Andy, and I got 1 in gratis. That would be the growth in that section. And then for magnetic singles, I had 125 last year, and this year I have 121. I have been doing a build your own palette series on my channel, which is helping me go through like the singles that I have in my collection and really getting familiar with how they work, if they're working still. Like, a lot of these are really old, right? So their formulas have obviously probably changed and either gotten worse or certainly not gotten better, or maybe it's just a color I don't like on my skin anymore, whatever it is. So I have decluttered quite a few of these. I have gotten, I think, 3 in friend mail as well. I think Andy sent me some of those as well. I don't think that the magnetic eyeshadows are a problem area for me. I just also know that I don't use them very often. So I am trying to be better about that in this 2025 year. You will likely see this number go down again next year because I'm just not buying singles. And through my Build Your Own Palette series, I am getting rid of them because they just are not working. And then the last category, the piece de resistance, right? The one that everybody wants to know about is palettes. And for palettes, last year I had 204, and this year I have 214. And you aren't going to see a picture of all of my palettes laid out on the floor like you have with everything else, because that is just not possible for me to get all 214 of those palettes into a picture. But what you will see is the same pictures that you got last year, with me straight on looking at my cabinet that I house all of my palettes in. I keep them in a cabinet bookshelf style. And also the drawer of the Oh the Shame palettes that I have. I got rid of 27 palettes last year through decluttering and through my palette roulette series, in which I'm reviewing palettes. And if I don't like them at the end of my time frame with that review process, I do get rid of them. Like, I'm not hoarding palettes that I don't love to work with. But I also did venture into a couple of different indie brands this year. I think I purchased from like maybe 5 different indie brands. I also purchased some new brands that were coming to Ulta Beauty, like when I think of Ray-Ban. There are several of these palettes that I should have not purchased. Several of the palettes that I really have like regret over purchasing, but there are so many that I don't have regret purchasing from. And in terms of the indie brands, in order to make it worth my while, worth my money, worth my getting free shipping, I did buy more than one every single time. Like, I'm a 3 or more kind of purchaser every single time that I'm purchasing from an indie brand. So even though I only tried, a handful of new companies to me this year, I did purchase in at least increments of 3 with every new brand that I tried. I need to get out of that mindset, but that is just where I'm at. Like, what if I don't like when I think of Ray-Ban, I did not like the formula of 2 of the 3 palettes that I didn't like the formula overall, but 2 of the 3 palettes that I purchased from Ray-Ban, I don't love at all. I don't even like. I don't want to use again. So I need to get out of the habit of purchasing a minimum of 3 every single time I try a new brand, but that's where I'm at. Am I happy with the palettes that I purchased? Yes. Am I happy with the palettes that I, decluttered? Absolutely. I just think that, it's grown by 10. That means I decluttered 27 palettes that last year. That means I purchased 37 palettes last year, and that is crazy sauce to me. Some of them honestly weren't purchases, but I don't think I got very many palettes in gratis last year. I think maximum probably 5 maximum. So 32 palettes is what I purchased last year, and that is crazy. And that is why I'm on a no buy, to be honest. That and everything else. That said, my makeup inventory last year in total was 1,168 items, and this year is 1,204. So we have went up by 36 items. However, let's talk this through. I keep track of not only the makeup inventory that I have, but everything coming into my collection, everything leaving my collection, and also how those products are leaving or coming into my collection. So I had 275 items come into my collection last year for a value of $8,111.51. 133 of those items were gratis items, equating to $3,261.21. 37 of those items were other, which means gifts, gift with purchase, at a total of $1,405.30 is what came in. And I purchased 105 items at a value of $3,445. Now, I only paid my total spend on makeup last year was $2,616.79. And I know that sounds so crazy to some people, but this is actually, when you consider that $8,000 worth of $8,100 worth of products came into my collection last year, and I paid only $2,600 total, that is amazing. And that's because I never purchase anything without it being on sale. There's always got to be like a discount to it, or I'm not purchasing it. And I also get a lot of things in gratis, right? So gratis made up the majority of the products that were coming into my collection in terms of number, but purchases made up the majority of my collection in terms of value. but I didn't spend that much money on it. So the average spend of the $275 or 275 items that I brought in was $24.92 per piece. But my total spend was $9.52 per incoming piece. So the 275 items that I had, I only spent an average of $9.52 per item. And I spent a grand total on that 275 items of $2,616.79. So I think that's pretty amazing. I emptied 84 items. The value of the emptied products that I had in just makeup was $1,769.95. There were 148 items that were decluttered. The total leaving my collection was 232 items. So 275 items came in, 232 left. That means that 43 items came into my collection. I don't know why there's a discrepancy with the total number of products, except for to say that there might be like some products that were brought into my collection that were in my spreadsheets that I later gave away to somebody else that was part of like the declutter or something like that, but still lived in my incoming section, right? So there's that. The value of the products that were left my collection was $5,570.23. So the breakup of that is 51 items were gratis items. So there were 51 products that I got in gratis that I did not keep in my own collection. Those equated to $1,113.99 worth of that total. 75 of them were other, so gifts, whatever it is. 75 of them were part of the other, and they equated to $1,850.90. And then 106 items were purchased by me. So I'm so happy that the largest number is coming from items that I'm actually purchasing for myself. This is also the largest part of that total at $2,605.34. My goals for the 2024 year were that I had no more than 20 products coming into my collection that I had purchased versus what I had emptied. And you guys just heard, I had 105 products coming into my collection that I had purchased, and I had 84 items leave my collection. There's a 21 count variance there, so I only missed this number by one item. I am pretty proud of myself for that, to be honest. I also had a one in, one out mindset when it came to blush, highlighter, and lip gloss. And I ended the year still capable of purchasing 3 more blushes, 13 more highlighters, and 15 lip glosses because I got rid of that many through declutter or empty in my collection, but did not bring in any more from a purchase perspective than what I had gotten rid of in my collection. So I was really happy with those numbers as well. I'm calling that a win. I had on my list no buy for mascara, face palettes, and lipsticks. You guys heard earlier, I did buy 2 face palettes. I bought, sounds like 2 mascaras, and I bought 1 lipstick. Of those products, the 1 lipstick and the 2 face palettes still exist in my collection. The 2 mascaras, only one of them still exists in my collection because it was what I purchased from the Westman Atelier collections that I purchased late last year to try out the Westman Atelier brand. It came in a set, right? One of those mascaras I did get rid of. These items, as they filtered in, counted for me as more points than what one item would cost. And I did end out the year in the negative, meaning I purchased more than what I had emptied, but it wasn't horrible. I think it was like -10. But a lot of that came from these 5 items that were 2 points each versus 1 point each. I'm not calling that a win because I did purchase those items. But that is the only one really that I consider a loss in goals, because the last goal that I had on here was that I empty 70% of the amount of money that I paid in purchases, right? So for the items that I purchased in my collection, as I've read to you now multiple times, I purchased $2,616.79 worth of products for my collection. I needed to empty 70% of that cost in order to hit that goal. 70% of that cost is $1,831.75. I emptied $1,769.95. I'm calling this a win because that is 68% of that $2,616.79 versus the 70%. I only needed $62 more dollars in order to hit that 70%. So I am calling this a win. So of the goals that I had set up for my inventory last year, I hit every one except one. And I am just so proud of myself for that. So overall, again, my makeup inventory is at 1204 this year. I am on a no-buy this year. I am on a no-buy for multiple reasons. The amount of products in my inventory is the biggest reason. Like, I have so many products in my inventory that I have not touched or touched very little, and I just want to get familiar with my makeup inventory again. You guys will see a lot of shop my stashes. I'll be rotating through things a lot more often than I was rotating through in the previous few years. I really just want to get familiar with my inventory. I don't need to be, I have no business bringing anything else into my inventory. You guys heard all the numbers. So I know that this was really sticky and analytical and very numbers-based videos, but I hope that you guys were here for it, and I hope that you enjoyed a little peek into my inventory and hearing all the things and the things that I'm proud of and the things that I'm not proud of and the numbers that I wish they would be and what my problem areas are. But I would be interested to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section, so please don't forget to hit your girl up. I also hope that you liked it enough that you'll want to subscribe before you go if you're not subscribed yet, because listen, this isn't what my channel is all about, but this was a fun video, right? Every other video on my channel is a fun video. So I hope that you'll want to subscribe, stick around, hit that notification bell. It's free to you, and I would love to have you as part of my YouTube fam. And if you're here watching anyways, just subscribe. It's pretty fantastic. I have some pretty fantastic people down in the comment section, and I also just really think that this channel is pretty fantastic. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here, right? Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you and yours are well. I hope that you are all safe and healthy and getting along as best that you can. I hope that you are all loving each other, being kind humans, and living your best life. And until next time, bye, friends.